God is whatever is more important than anything else. Something for which we will sacrifice everything else. Something from which we expect everything worth having, writes Shirley Guthrie in his book, Christian Doctrine. This is the book that is accompanying our study of the big ideas of Christianity this program year. He continues, "My God may be my own individual success or pleasure or happiness. It may be my family, my nation, or my church. It may be an ethical idea or a political cause. In our time, it may be nothingness or meaninglessness. But whatever it is, our understanding of our God shapes our understanding of ourselves, and our understanding of ourselves shapes our understanding of our God." God is the one to which we direct our praise, the one that shapes our decisions, the value that we hold higher than anything else. How do we come to know what that God is, though? Is it just something you figure out in your heart? Is it the thing that takes up the most money out of our bank account every month? Is that our God? Is it the activity that demands the most of our time in our lives? Is that our God? How do we come to experience that there is something or someone toward whom we direct our lives? In theology words, we call this idea general revelation. It's the idea that by your observation of the world around us, we can be drawn into holy mystery, into pondering some power that is under, behind, beyond, and within the structures around us. Francis Collins is the head of the National Institute of Health. You may remember him from the 90s as sort of the face of the Human Genome Project. Collins is also a devout Christian, and he describes in his book, The Language of God, how his faith evolved to affirm the lordship of Christ. He describes it through the process of general revelation. For Collins, it began with physics. Sorry, our physics teacher's in the back corner back there. Collins writes that the experience of deriving simple and beautiful universal equations that describe reality of the natural world left a profound impression on me, particularly because the ultimate outcome had such aesthetic appeal. This raises several philosophical questions about the nature of the physical universe. Why should matter behave in such a way? Why is it that gravity always works? Or that the area of a circle is always pi r squared? Or that the concept of pi even exists? I'm not talking about the dessert. I'm talking about that little squiggly symbol in math problems. For Collins and for others, that orderliness, the structure of the physical world, is evidence of some grand force, being, power that is the origin of that orderliness itself. However, if some of you are more into the dessert of pi than the mathematical concept of pi, there's hope for you too. General revelation can be experienced in the appreciation of aesthetics. What we see can be an encounter of the divine. That moment when your skin tingles the first time you ever heard Samuel Barber's Adagio for Strings, or you read Steinbeck's Grapes of Wrath, or To Kill a Mockingbird, when you first saw Hamlet or Rigoletto. It's watching the human body bend and shape with perfect line and synchronicity as the dancers move to the music, the magic flute, Swan Lake. When you read the poetry of Byron or Keats or Wendell Berry or Mary Oliver, it's what draws people over and over again to the Louvre, to Florence, to see Monet and Degas and Da Vinci and Michelangelo. It's the Grand Canyon and glacial valleys and African savannas and Arctic icebergs. When you stand and marvel, and for a moment, you forget to breathe. There must be some power, some origin of imagination to inspire the composer or the artist, the author or the playwright to create something of such beauty. There must be some origin of the beauty that is mountains and oceans and rivers and leaves that turn to red and yellow and orange. Orderliness, beauty. There are also signs, though, of a divine order to the world in human morality. There's a debate in psychological circles about how we're shaped in our moral and ethical lives. Are we born a blank slate and everything we know about right and wrong is somehow just learned culturally in our homes and by our parents and our society? Or is there something hardwired by evolution or the source of life that instills in us a moral order? There isn't a universal agreement among psychologists, but at the very least, there is a recognition, as Jonathan Haidt puts it in his book, The Righteous Mind, that even young children recognize the value of rules that prevent harm. They describe them as moral rules. They seem to grasp early on that rules that prevent harm are special, important, unalterable, and universal. Another example of this inerrant moral order that's in us comes from a quote composed by that man from Monticello. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal and are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. A natural moral order. Why am I spending so much time here talking about aesthetics and physics and moral orders? Because we're living in an increasingly secular, mechanical, and technological age. Technological addiction erases moments of boredom and wonder. Anytime you don't have something to do, you can pull out your phone. We have this obsession with standardized testing that eliminates imagination and creativity in our classrooms. Our political ideologies continue to replace our religious convictions. The promotion of greed and envy as virtues are slowly sculpting us into the model consumer. Fear drives us more deeply into isolation and away from the joy of neighborliness. You should be afraid of what you don't know, we're told. To be faithful to our God, then, we must learn how to enter into a dialogue about the eternal presence of God in our temporal world with friends and neighbors, even new guests who worship with us, that doesn't assume that by being here you necessarily believe right now that that book in the pew rack is holy, or that you care about the bread we break and the cup we bless, or that a dead rabbi walked out of a cave after 3 days some 2,000 years ago, and that should make a difference in your life. You've got to start with physics, or sunsets, or Steinbeck, or Piaget. The sacred spark is where we've got to begin before we have any interest in doctrine or dogma or crosses and tombs. Merely reminding people of the immense mystery and beauty and the order that can be seen around us. We have to awaken that hunger before we can begin to even discuss theories of the atonement or our understanding of eschatology. It's exactly what Paul and Barnabas are doing in our passage today. These two apostles are on their very first mission to the Gentiles. That means those who aren't Jews. They're taking the news of Jesus to them. When they heal a crippled man, they're assumed to be Roman gods who have come down from earth. The people of Lystra begin to worship them. Paul and Barnabas have to stop the celebration and tell the people, we are mortals just like you, and we bring you good news, that you should turn from these worthless things to the living God who made heaven and earth and the sea, all that is in them. Do you hear it? Paul's first revelation to the people of Lystra is by using general revelation. He begins with the God who is revealed in the order and the creation and the beauty of the world around us. And he recognizes that there is a natural religious impulse within this community, making them open to the revelation of Jesus that he brings. Do you know why the people of Lystra think Paul and Barnabas are Zeus and Hermes? I wouldn't if I hadn't been in a play my freshman year of college called Metamorphoses. It's by Mary Zimmerman. It's an adaptation of Ovid's tellings of ancient mythology. Zimmerman has taken these vignettes of these different scenes of those myths and created a singular narrative arc in her adaptation for the stage. As a student at Rhodes College in Memphis, we did the production with students from the University of Memphis, and it was housed at their theater because the play requires a swimming pool to be on stage. And we weren't able to make a swimming pool in our black box theater, but the University of Memphis could lower the orchestra pit, and they built a swimming pool in the orchestra pit. Liner, chlorine, heater, filters, everything. The final scene of the play is the story that's alluded to in our reading in Acts. Zeus and Hermes, the Roman gods, take on the form of human peasants, and they come to earth and go door to door seeking hospitality. They knock on 1,000 doors and they receive no reception until they reach the home of Bacchus and Philemon. This is a peasant couple, obviously with nothing to spare with visitors, but to the gods' surprise, they're welcomed into the home. "Do you know us?" asks Zeus. "Of course," Philemon replies. "You do?" questions Hermes suspiciously. "Why, you are children of God. Come in, come in." And I don't think I've ever read stage directions dramatically before, but just to give you a visual image of what Zimmerman intends to happen at this moment, this is what she says. Several members of the company then enter and exit variously, carrying illuminated candles in wooden bowls, which stand for all the items they will mention. They hand these bowls to Bacchus and Philemon or place them in the water themselves. The scene is active. The entire surface of the water becomes the table being set with illuminated candles. There in the water, amidst the illumination of the candles, the humble couple serves the gods until Philemon takes a bottle of wine and pours a glass for Zeus and for Hermes, but the bottle of wine stays full. At this point, the god's identity is revealed. Grateful for the response, the reception they've received from this couple, Zeus and Hermes ask Bacchus and Philemon, "What's the thing you most desire? We'll give it to you." The only request the couple has is that having lived so long together, they wish to die at the exact same moment so that one never has to live without the other. And so together, entwined with one another in their old age, they merge into a single tree, casting shade on all who pass under it. Zimmerman then has the narrator say, "Walking down the street at night, when you're all alone, you can still hear it, stirring in the intermingled branches of the trees above, the ardent prayer of Bacchus and Philemon. They whisper, 'Let me die the moment my love dies.' They whisper, 'Let me not outlive my own capacity to love.' They whisper, 'Let me die still loving, and so never die.'" In the pool of water, with candles floating around, a peasant couple welcomed vagabonds into their home. It speaks of the wind of love that never dies. Our God is in that wind. And Paul and Barnabas know the people of Lystra have some notion already of the God they come to teach them about. There is, in some way, a holy connection ingrained in each of us. Today we approach the water of life, filled with the glow of the light of the world. Water from a faucet in a font carved of marble. Here in a room made of rock and earth and slate, tile and glass. The earthy, ordinary, yet organized and majestic realm of God. To perform a specific and sacred act, the water of new life, the water of welcome, water that flows from the throne of God by the tree of life whose leaves are for the healing of the nations. And today we hear God whisper through all of eternity, "Lena Joy, you are mine." A specific claim in our temporal world, pouring through eternity into this moment, in this place, reminding us that wherever we go, whomever we are with, in any situation, the presence of our God is already there. May we bear witness to it.